So last week I built a desk for my daughter. I built the main carcass of the desk out of some maple veneered plywood, and I had to cut some dados in the plywood for some shelves that were going in. I used my old dado set that I've had for many years to cut those dados, and they turned out really bad. There was a lot of tear out on the veneer and they looked really ugly. Luckily those dados are going to pretty much be hidden from sight, so I didn't have to scrap the wood, but I know they're in there and I'm really not too happy about it. So right now I'm getting ready to build 4 drawers for that desk. I'm going to be building those drawers out of 1/2-inch plywood, and I'll be using the half method to build them. I think it is hands down the easiest and quickest way to build super strong drawers. If you're not familiar with that method, I did a video on how to do it. I'll put a link right up here somewhere so you can check that video out. But to build the drawers using that method, I have to use my dado stack to cut rabbets, grooves, and dados. Some of those rabbets and grooves will have to be cut across the grain of the veneer, and I don't want to have the tear out on those drawers like I had on the desk. So how do I prevent the tear out on that veneer? Well, there's a few things I can do. The first and the most extreme would just be to buy a new dado set. Now I'll admit, I've had my eye on a new dado set for a while now, but they're like $250 to $300. So before I spend that money on a new set, I'm going to try a couple more affordable options. The first of those options is something very simple and very easy. It's something I should have done years ago. Come on in a little closer and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Alright guys, here's my dado set. I've had this probably at least 10 years. I didn't pay very much for it, maybe 50 bucks or so if I remember right, but like I said, it's been a while. In that time, it's done a fine job of cutting dados for me, but like I said, that last project I recently did, I just saw a lot of tear out cutting across the grain on that veneer. Now, is that 100% the fault of these blades? I don't think so, and let me show you what I mean. If I pick one of these up, I hope you can see this on camera if I come in close here. I don't know if you can see how dirty these blades are right at the teeth. There's a lot of buildup on there from years of cutting. I have never cleaned these blades. I can't really fault the set for my recent bad cuts. I have not taken care of this set like it should be taken care of. I clean the blades of my table saw, but for some reason I've never thought to clean these blades. So that's going to be step 1 on getting cleaner cuts with this set. Is I'm just going to clean these blades really well, get all of this buildup off of the teeth, and I'm going to cut some dados with it and see how it looks. So let's get these clean. Alright guys, cleaning these blades is really simple. This is just a 5-gallon bucket lid. I use this just to hold the blade. You can do 8 or up to like a 10-inch blade inside here. And then to clean the blade, I use this Trend tool cleaner. This stuff is awesome. It acts as a lubricant, rust prevention. It breaks up the wood resins that are on the teeth and cleans it all up. Does a really good job. So I just spray some on here. This is non-toxic, biodegradable, all that, so don't worry about getting it on your hands. It's not going to hurt you. Spray it on the blades, and then you just want to let it sit for a few minutes and then just wipe it off. If you get some spots that are a little more stubborn, which I'm expecting to have on here since it's been so long, well, I've never cleaned these blades before. You may have to let it soak a little longer than normal and then rub it a little harder, maybe get an old toothbrush and scrub it. But I don't know if you can see this, but these spots right here, let me bring this in. It's gonna drip on me, but that's right. These spots, this stuff is already coming off. If I just rub it with my finger, it's been on here for about 30 seconds. And the thinner spots are already starting to come off. This right here, it's already starting to clean off. So I'll just let this sit here for 5 minutes or so, and we'll come back and clean these off. Alright, these have been soaking for about 10 minutes now. Let's see how they clean up. So I can tell right away, I don't know if you can see that part here, how that's shiny and this is dull. So that's wood, resin, and gunk. Look at that, from years of not being cleaned. It's not just out here on the teeth, it's on the whole side of the blade. Sometimes you don't realize how dirty something is until you start cleaning it. I can already see a huge difference in this blade, especially here around the teeth. There's still a little bit kind of behind the tooth. So I'm going to give this blade another little soaking, get a nylon brush, scrub that a little bit. These teeth can be very sharp. You might want to wear some leather gloves or something while you're doing this if you're worried about getting cut. So you can see how effective this stuff is already. I use this to clean not only saw blades, but router bits, milling bits. I even use it to clean my golf clubs after a round. On my 150 CNC, I'll spray down the guide tubes with this when they get full of dust and debris. Cleans them up, lubricates them a little bit. So definitely have a bottle of this around your shop. I highly recommend it. So these blades are looking great. I expect them to cut much better than they were. As long as I have all this out and set up, I'm gonna go ahead and clean all the chippers also. And once that's done, I'll set up the dado stack and we'll cut some test dados and see how they are. All right, I have a 1/2 inch dado stack set up, which is the exact setup I had for the ugly dados I cut on the desk. I got it set for about 1/4 inch deep, and I have some scrap plywood here. We'll run these through and see how they look. Alright, I cut 2 dados with that setup. Check out these results. So here's the 2 dados I just cut, and as you can see on this dado along this edge, and on this one along this edge, which was the inside edge of both cuts, I got a lot more tear out than I did on the outside, which tells me that inside blade, there's something up with it. It might have a chipped tooth or something. I'm going to check it out. So I'm going to inspect that inside blade, see if it has some damage to it, but it definitely tore out more than this outside blade. The outside blade still isn't perfect, but it's much better than it was. The dados that I just cut for that desk, I had really bad tear out like this on both sides of the dado. So cleaning the blade definitely helped, but there is something going on with this inside blade. So I looked that blade over, didn't really see anything. I made a couple more test cuts and the results were the same. As you can see here, this is my second test cut. Pretty clean on that same blade. And I had some tear out here, but on this back side of the cut, it's also pretty clean. This tore out really bad just because it had a blowout, a void in the plywood, so I'm not really counting that one. That's still not acceptable, even though it's clean over here. This is still not acceptable to me. So I'm going to try this trick I saw where you put painter's tape over where the dado is going to be. It's supposed to help prevent tear out. I'm going to run it through and see how it looks. That actually did seem to help a little bit. You can see this line here where the tape was is cleaner than this. This is a little fuzzier, a little more small tear out than this. This is the bad side. The tape came off and peeled up. I got some tear out, but where the tape stayed stuck on, it's a pretty clean cut. So I'm going to do some more tape right here, make sure it's stuck down real good, maybe do 2 layers, I don't know, and run it through and check that out. I'm going to go ahead and peel this off and see what it looks like. So this side here with the good blade, that is a really clean cut. That would be perfectly acceptable. Still some tear out on this side with the bad blade. Maybe that blade's just not as sharp. Alright guys, so this one here is that last dado. As you can see on this bottom edge, on that good blade side, it is a really clean cut. This top side, it still had some tear out right here in the middle. It's pretty clean here. This side's really clean. So there's still something going on with that blade that's causing some tear out. I'm going to pull that blade off of the stack and take a real close look at it. Maybe I can just go get it sharpened. It does have carbide teeth and it'll probably cut just like it did when it was new. So I took the blade off that's been giving me problems. I gave it another really good cleaning. I put it back on as a 1/4 inch stack because this is what I'll be using to build the drawers. And as you can see, that blade still gave me quite a bit of tear out. This dado I ran kind of fast. This one I ran shallower and a little slower, but I still got tear out on that side of the blade. So this last dado here that turned out really clean, as you can see, I did something different. I made 2 marks, 1/4 inch apart. I took my square and a knife, scored a line, moved it to the next mark, scored a line, and then I cut my dado on those score marks, and you can see it turned out really clean. If I had to use this dado stack and I wanted really clean dados, cross-cutting in veneered material, that's what I would have to do for each and every one. Now, do I want to have to mark and score every single dado I cut? Of course not. But this would be just for the cross-cut dados. You can see here I cut a few with the grain, and I didn't do anything special with any of these. No tape, no scoring, no nothing. I just ran them through. And with the grain, it cuts just fine. So if you're not getting clean cuts, step 1, get yourself some tool cleaner and clean your blades. Cleaning those blades definitely made an improvement in these cuts. It didn't solve the problem altogether, but they were much better. Using the painter's tape also helped out, but I did still get some tear out. And the only thing that gave me really good results cross-cutting a dado in this veneer was to lay out the dado and score either side of that dado with a razor knife. Doing that pre-cuts those wood fibers, so my dado blade isn't doing all the work. So the only thing I can do at this point to get really clean dados is to either buy a new dado set or get this one sharpened. Now, a new high quality dado set is going to run me between $200 to $300. I can get this whole set sharpened, including the chippers, for 30 to 35 bucks. So I'm going to go that route. I'm going to take this set in to have it sharpened. I have a few other blades that need to be sharpened also, so I'll just take them all in at the same time. That's going to take a few days. I have a little trip I'm going on this weekend, so these drawers will have to wait till next week. So this was a fun little test. Just remember, if you're not getting the results you think you should be getting from your blades, the first thing you should do is give them a good cleaning. You might be surprised at the result. Remember to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you get notified when new videos come out. Thanks for watching.